If you are 36 or you're turning 36, turning 37, most likely you are going through your Saturn square. And it started when Saturn entered Aries this year. It doesn't matter that square might bring tension or might bring challenges or might bring this feeling of like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Trust me, I'm going through it right now. If your mindset is still in the era of where like your core belief, your shadow, the version of you that believed that you weren't worthy just as you are. You felt like you had to prove yourself, you felt like you had to do a lot. You felt like external successes would show that you were worthy. If that is you, right? You have to learn that we have autonomy over this. That yes, that period of your life could be a challenging one. But ultimately, your subconscious mind would be running from whatever story you tell it, whether that's from your childhood, inherited, or something that you've learned over time. So you see that square and you think fear, anxiousness, you get overwhelmed by that. And you might end up having a nervous system response of freezing or fawning or trying to just get up and go and doing the complete opposite and doing flight or flight. And instead, what if you took this opportunity to completely burn down any structure that was built off performatism, was built off a version of you that just had to survive? What if you decided to enter this stage of your life and say, you know what, I'm deciding that I want to look at this differently. I want to transform my mind because my mind holds the power here. In this video, I want to speak about that because I am personally going through it right now. And it's something that has genuinely taken me a moment to say, I'm not going to keep feeding that shadow anymore. I'm not going to keep feeding that old narrative that says that certain things in my life, like I won't have that until something tells me that it's okay to have that, or something shows me that it's okay that I have that. And I'll go into all of that in a minute. I just want to introduce myself if you are new here. My name is Katerina. I am 36 years old. I am a Capricorn rising with Saturn in my first house, and Saturn squares like 3 of my inner planets and opposes my Jupiter. So I have a very a CV worthiness of Saturn lived experience. I have got the t-shirt. I've worn it to death, and got another one. I very much have the credentials to be speaking about what Saturn is like within your lived experience. So if you're interested in understanding that a bit more, and if you're interested in talking about old self, new self entities with a little bit of splash of astrology, then welcome to my channel. If you don't know what Saturn is in terms of lived experience, you're not really sure what yours is, yet you might feel like you have setbacks, you have challenges, you have delays in certain areas of your life. And if you know where your Saturn is in your house and in your sign, then I have my waiting loop masterclass. It is your video self-paced course completely to understand your Saturn placement. The reason I created it is because I felt like I had enough lived experience to talk about it. I also have studied within Hellenistic and modern astrology, but more than that, it was something that I just felt like not a lot of people truly speak about Saturn from like a how to work with it, but also within a psychological lens and looking at potentially what the shadow is of that placement of yours and how you can really step into what Saturn wants from you. Because once you do that, once you learn that lesson and move forward, knowing that that is the lesson that you were put on this earth to learn, it changes your whole chart in a way that you see growth there, in a way that you see, oh, like that's why I went through that, but that's what it's asking of me. The video course is down below. The reason I did it in video form is just I felt like it was more easier to be able to work with. You do get a PDF with it and like shadow work prompts and stuff, but the video course, I just felt like this was the best way to be able to communicate with you on what your Saturn wants and how to work with it. So again, that is linked below for you. But the reason I filmed this video today is because I am personally going through my Saturn square right now, and it's just getting harder to ignore. It's getting louder, and I didn't know if anyone else had been speaking about this from their own personal like experience and what they went through, that I wanted to share it because maybe it would help you. And even though I created this video course and I talk about the squares, like when Saturn squares your natal Saturn, like I talk about that, it's like another like living through it and determining, okay, these are the things that you may feel during that period, but it doesn't really matter. Like they are going to be the same experiences in your life. It's how you look at them that matters, what your mindset is behind it that matters. And I want to speak about this because I wish I knew this in my Saturn return. I wish I had this knowledge then, not because my life would have been so much greater and like fireworks and everything's amazing. That's not what I'm talking about, but it's more as in I have this like belief behind it that is built on my truth and what I want to believe, not what I was taught to believe, not what I was made to believe within society. Like, actually, oh, this is my truth. And I think it's really powerful to know that. And a lot of people do speak about this, not necessarily with astrology. And that is like reprogramming your subconscious mind. That is realizing that you have autonomy over the way you live and breathe and believe. So you could have, you know, a square coming up to Saturn, or your Pluto square that comes a bit later. You could have that, but still, you could be looking at it from the lens of like the old self. And I want to talk about this within a Capricorn and Aries way, because that's where that's where my Saturn is. And if your Saturn is in Cancer as well, you'll be going through a Saturn square. But my Saturn is in Capricorn, so I want to speak about that specifically. And Saturn now is in Aries. So I'll talk about that first, and then I'll get into like the subconscious stuff. The first thing is like understanding Saturn in Capricorn, and that Saturn's very happy in Capricorn, and how that energy comes out. And it does come out like that you're really good with structures, with consistency, with staying like consistent, staying devoted to that path, depending on like your whole chart and what's going on there. But it's more about the foundational view of Saturn in Capricorn is the like built structure. But the thing is that that built structure might not be built on truth. It's just very good at like building structures, you know? So there might come a point in your life where that structure that you've built might burn down, not because it's being dramatic, but because it wasn't actually sustainable. And that could look within your daily routines, within your lifestyles, within your work, within your marriage, whatever that may be. If it's not built on truth, Saturn will eventually like bring solitude in order to understand what your truth is, right? But then if you look at Saturn in Aries, Aries is impulsive. It's the beginning of the zodiac. It is like the child. It is the one who learns to walk and then runs. It's something that creates action. But it's also the first of the zodiac. So if we looked at that from a Capricorn Aries point of view, it's like basically you want to be born anew. A new identity is building and is being created in especially the Aries part of your chart. And for me, that's my fourth house, and that's my roots, my parentals, like the things that I was made to believe about myself, about my life, but also like what I want to create within my home life, my inner safety. And we want to build anew there now. And it's the square is between Capricorn and Aries is talking about you have to burn down that structure. You have to release all the foundations that weren't made for you. You have to release all the buildings that were built in a time of just pushing through, versus your new self is built on a completely new identity. It's a completely different version of the way you want to move forward. That's how I personally view that relationship. Seeing the fact that maybe the way that we built things weren't actually built on truth. Maybe they were built on performatism. Maybe they were built on what you felt was true at that moment, but actually it was what was forced upon you, was pushed upon you. You felt in some way in your life that you had to, you were obligated to fulfill those dreams, but those dreams weren't actually yours. And that's really happening to me now. And it is something that I've worked through probably for this year. And it's something that is changing the way that I show up on here, because I'm just not sure what I want to do with this. And I'm just not sure where I feel stuck right now. And those are the kind of feelings that a Saturn square can bring. It can bring that feeling of stuck. It can feel like you just don't know where you're going with your life at all. And there's a real confusion there. And that can be really prevalent. Like from my own experience right now, it's like it's actually having to just move through that and continue to create, even knowing that like I'm not quite sure. And besides that, everything in the sky right now is confusion. Is clarity is not quite there yet. You know, there are things where we're just not sure of, and that could be felt collectively. So on top of that Saturn square, it can exaggerate that feeling of feeling stuck, feeling lost, confused with where your life is heading right now. You know that a new life is coming, but you're just not sure what that looks like. But I think what calls me to speak about this is, even though the chart says one thing, even though the sky says one thing, your mindset still has autonomy on how you believe that to be true and what's coming for you. And if there is a undercurrent of disbelief, unworthiness, lack of confidence running the show, doesn't matter how many affirmations you tell yourself, doesn't matter how many times you look in the mirror and say a certain thing, it's the core belief that needs to be challenged within that. And this is where I talk about reprogramming your subconscious mind, because that takes daily action, that takes daily steps. You know, that takes you listening to a meditation every single morning. That changes the way that you think on a daily basis. That takes every time you're like, what if it doesn't come? Like, what if that doesn't come? Like, and your business starts to kind of mirror that belief that, oh, maybe I'm not worthy of this. But it's because you're looking for something outside of yourself to mirror what actually is point blank the belief inside of yourself. And I have struggled with this a lot. You know, Capricorn risings, as well as other placements, but just speaking from my own experience, Capricorn risings can tend to feel like they haven't achieved what they want to achieve, or the things haven't come yet. Like, the external stuff hasn't shown like success yet. So you end up feeling like you're waiting for that success in order to believe that you're worthy of it. But still, that's not a core belief within you. That's still acting like you're waiting for proof that you actually are worthy of abundance, of love, of joy. The core belief is still that belief of external success will show that I'm worthy. So that still mirrors the whole like proof before you can believe. And with any belief, there's not much proof. Like, if you believe in a faith, you're believing it to your core, and there might be other people who say it, but you can never really prove it. It's just a belief. And that belief holds you to the way you move through your life, because you truly, like, deep down believe in that, and it helps you to move through your life. So even though your chart says one thing, and I'm not saying those things wouldn't happen, or certain things are not difficult for you or challenging, or there's tension there, but you also have the power to transmute that into something else. If you're feeling frustrated with where you are right now, you can either sit in that frustration and make it become like a pool that you can't get out of, or you can transmute that frustration into creation. So whether that's you create something, you work out, you move your body, you have transmuted that frustration into action. If you are nervous, you have transmuted that nervousness into if you are anxious, you are transmuting that anxiousness into excitement, into something that potentially could be, because you've taken it out of your head and into your body, and your body is doing something to, like, transmute that anxiousness into something else. And this is the same premise with your subconscious mind. When you reprogram it, and I'm going through this at the moment because I've done it before, and I feel like there's certain areas of my life that I still am waiting for external success, and I don't like it. I don't want to be that person anymore. It's not something that I connect with. I feel like I'm not that person, yet that core belief is like running the show. So how I am doing this is I am doing daily meditations to reprogram my subconscious mind. I am continually, like, making sure that I catch myself in that moment where I feel like that old belief, and I counteract it. And I say to myself in that moment, I correct that belief in that moment. And sometimes I'm a bit intense with myself, and I just say to myself, like, F off, that's not actually true. Like, that's not true, you were told that. So I think with this, and this is where I really want to stress, this square, Saturn square, this Pluto square, this opposition, this return, whatever it may be for you, is going to come regardless. And how do you want to move through that? Do you want to move through that with fear and anxiety and lack and scarcity? Or do you want to believe a different story? Do you want to believe a story that wasn't inherited to you? Because if so, if you do want that, you do have to look at reprogramming your subconscious mind. You do have to navigate a different story now. And it's hard and it's consistent and it's boring, but it's all the shit that transforms that area of your life for you. Because a lot of this reprogramming is just getting back to the fact that you are the source. You're the source of abundance, you're the source of joy, and anything in your external life would match that inner belief. So if you believe that you are the source of abundance and you just need to create, then the outer world would match that inner frequency. But if the inner belief is that you're hoping to see something external come in order to believe that you can have it, then you are continually waiting in a frequency. And therefore, that frequency might be slower to come. Shadow work is one part of it, to understand your loops and patterns and your beliefs and stuff. But the other part is the daily work, the work to change that narrative. And it's action, yes, but that action is also in the way that you tell yourself on a daily basis. The action isn't just you showing yourself that you can do something, even though that's important. It's also changing your wires, like in your internal wires have been made to feel a certain way. And honestly, a lot of the time, if you just looked at your chart, you'd be able to figure out what those inner wires are, especially if you have Saturn in a strong placement. And by strong, I mean definitely first house, definitely in harsh squares, maybe even in second house, because that's to do with your self-worth. Sixth house, 10th house, a lot of them, to be honest, fourth house, eighth house, 12th house. And I go through that in the waiting loop course. But you can go through that route and then go through a different route, another route, to reprogram that belief. Because even though deep down you might feel like that belief is yours and you believe that of yourself, it is genuinely not yours. You were taught to believe that either through parents, through ancestral trauma, or through society, or all three. This is the part of yourself, if we looked at it from like an evolutionary lens, this was the part of yourself that to learn this lesson and to grow from this lesson and to evolve from that lesson that you were given. Like, this is the lesson that the universe, source, believed that you could work through. So if you knew that, like, that's your goal, that's your mountain, is to actually work through that inner belief of you feeling like you are not worthy of something because X, Y, and Z. How we move through this moment, these moments, is by our belief. Because our belief in ourselves, our trust in ourselves, will change the way that we move that path. If you do not trust yourself and you don't believe in yourself and you don't think you're worthy at all, you'll continue to repeat those lessons because the lesson is not being learnt, right? But if you changed your mind, the way you believe to its core, and you believe that you are the source, then those lessons would be learnt quicker, yes. And also those lessons would come in more of a flow, because you know that you can work through them, because you trust yourself within that. That doesn't mean there's not tension there. That doesn't mean it's not challenging, but it just means that you have this like such inner trust in yourself that you know you can get through it. You know that you can get through this moment and it's going to be okay. I'm transitioning more into talking about mindset, old self, new self identity, because it is genuinely what I have been living through. And it's also something that brings you power. Like, I want you to have that power. The actions, sorry for the noise, the actions, the self that comes from, yes, inner resilience, that comes from those challenges and those tests. Inner resilience and inner strength doesn't come from ease. The strength that you have within yourself comes from those hard moments. But there's also a moment within this Aries and Capricorn energy where we have to say, and even with Aries and Cancer, even though Cancer would be more of like maybe what family dynamics you've been holding on to for a long time. If we looked at Cancer as like the family, from the family aspect, the familial, it's something that might might have been absorbed. Like we might have absorbed that energy a bit more. When it comes to Cancer, we might not trust ourselves fully and really do wait on others to tell us that it's okay to move. But Cancer, Capricorn, whoever, when it comes to that Aries part, it is rebirthing a new version of yourself, a new identity during this Saturn in Aries transit. Obviously, Neptune's there, and Neptune's there for a very long time. So it's more felt in the background, a collective feeling, I feel sometimes. But when you are sitting with those two in that house, Neptune's like, I want this, I want this, I want this dreamy life, I want to be this different person. And Saturn's like, okay, but how are we going to get there? Let's put it into action. Let's put it into the habits, the consistency. And with that, you actually have a framework to completely like dissolve any old belief and enter a new identity of yourself that believes that they can achieve certain things and truly knows that it's the source. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I just felt like talking about it. I'm living through it and it's intense and it's constantly making me question myself. But the key with this is moving through it, showing up anyway. And if something doesn't feel right, if you're forcing yourself to do something, then you have to take that quiet time. Otherwise, Saturn will give it to you. I've been there, done that. Saturn gave me so much solitude because I was pretending. I was on performance for so long, and when I hit 31, everything just disappeared. And I had to really sit with myself and say, what do I enjoy? And that came with practice and trying multiple things and trying to get there and still figuring out what I enjoy and what brings me pleasure and where I want to move through in this life. But the first foundation is knowing that no matter what happens in my external life, knowing that like I am the source and I love myself and I trust myself and I believe in myself and I believe that I am worthy just as I am. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And again, if you're interested in understanding your waiting loop, understanding what it is that Saturn's trying to teach you, and you don't want to go through that solitude and you don't want to go through all the things dissolving, then my waiting loop course is linked down below. And I will see you in the next video.